Everyone's skipping the Doritos just so they can afford to drive to work. Welcome to Earnings Unscripted. Today's July 9th, 2026, and we're digging into PepsiCo's second quarter. Ticker's PEP. On paper, this report looks solid. Earnings came in at $2.18 a share, up sharply from last quarter and beating expectations. But the stock just didn't care.
No, the market completely rejected it. Pre-market was a bloodbath, and it gapped down hard at the open, ultimately closing down around 3%, which tells you everything about how investors view the underlying engine here. The headline number's fine, but they're squeezing blood from a stone in North America.
Right. And just a quick note, since we're talking market reactions, everything on this show is strictly our personal opinion and definitely not financial advice. But yeah, that kind of tape action on an earnings beat is brutal. What's the stone they're squeezing? Because global revenues actually surged over 24% sequentially, right?
That's the whole paradox. International's basically wearing the cape right now. Europe, Asia, Latin America, they absorb the price hikes fine. But here in the U.S., the consumer's completely tapped. LaGuardia actually mapped it out on the call. When gas prices spike, people still drive to the convenience store, but they stop walking inside to buy the high-margin impulse stuff. They're literally passing up a Mountain Dew because the gas pump drained their wallet.
Wow. I mean, that's incredibly relatable. You stand there watching the pump total climb, and suddenly you don't really need the single-serve Cheetos. So the macro environment's directly cannibalizing their core U.S. impulse channels.
Yes, and it's destroying their unit economics. Look at the North American beverage segment. Operating margins shed 90 basis points. And the kicker's this. About half of that decline came directly from their new arrangement with Alani Nu. They're chasing scale with a buzzy energy brand, but it's wildly dilutive to their profit profile. Top line looks okay, bottom line gets heavier.
Okay, wait, back up. They bring in Alani Nu to drive volume, but it's actually cratering their domestic profitability that fast?
Exactly. Half the segment's margin drop points straight back to that single commercial arrangement.
That's wild. All right, let's unpack that. Because if their domestic cows crack under the weight of these new partnerships, we need to figure out where this whole strategy goes. Let's get into the details.
The details point straight into the supply chain, because Alani isn't their only partnership giving them heartburn right now.
You mean the Poppi and Siete deals? I thought those were supposed to be the actual growth engines.
In theory, sure. But look, operations aren't just plug and play. LaGuardia actually talked about this. When they unplugged Poppi from its old distributor and pushed it into Pepsi's network, they triggered massive inventory disruptions early in the year. And Siete ran into a wall with ingredient sourcing. They physically couldn't put product on the shelves for a bit.
Wait, so they buy these premium brands, intentionally rip up the distribution agreements, and just eat the lost sales? That sounds like terrible planning.
No, that's not quite it. They didn't break it intentionally. They just underestimated the friction of integrating completely different supply channels. A massive bottler network isn't designed to instantly absorb boutique soda or specialized tortilla chips. But they took a short-term hit to fix it for the long term. Which brings us to the real problem.
Okay, lay it on me.
They're losing market share in the U.S., and they need to heavily step up their marketing spend this fall to buy it back. But they also promised Wall Street they wouldn't ruin their full-year guidance.
Right. The CFO said they expect to hit the lower end of that range. But how do you crank up ad spend without totally crushing those margins?
By using an accounting fluke. That's the wildest part of the call.
Oh, I love an accounting fluke. What'd they do?
They're expecting a discrete tariff refund from last year. We're talking a windfall that equals roughly 1 full percentage point of total EPS growth for the year.
Just a straight check from the government?
Basically. Here's exactly what Schmidt said. We do expect about approximately 1 point of EPS benefit from tariff refund claims likely in the quarter. We expect a gradual improvement in North America, and we will be using the tariff, essentially the refunds, to help offset some commodity inflation.
Okay, wait, let me process this. So they got a lucky tax refund from a prior year, and instead of letting that drop to the bottom line, they're using it as a slush fund to hide the fact that current commodity costs are too high?
Precisely. It masks the structural degradation. It lets them play offense on marketing this fall without looking like their profitability's falling off a cliff. It's brilliant defensively, but it's a completely low-quality earnings boost. Once that cash is spent, they still have to face the music on inflation.
Oh, that's such a great magic trick. Look at the shiny marketing campaign while we quietly sweep the raw material costs under the rug. But what happens when the rabbit's out of the hat? Do they just keep hiking prices?
They can't. That's the whole gas station problem we talked about earlier. The consumer's totally tapped out, so they're physically rethinking the entire way they operate to lower internal costs. Look at Project Texoma.
Texoma? Is that a new energy drink or a country music festival?
It sounds like one. No, it's their real-world supply chain test lab down in Texas and Oklahoma. For decades, the snack division and the beverage division ran totally separate networks. Different trucks, different warehouses. Now they're actively testing combined mixing centers. They're trying to put the chips and the soda under one roof using a combined fleet.
Wow, so they're actually breaking down their legacy internal walls just to scrape back some margin?
They have to. You can only squeeze so much efficiency out of a pricing model before you hit a wall, which kind of forces you to ask where this leaves them for the rest of the year.
Exactly. And looking forward, management's technically holding the line here. They reaffirmed the full year outlook.
Right. They're guiding somewhere between 4 and 6% for core EPS growth for the year. But Schmidt explicitly warned they're likely finish near the low end of that range.
Which makes total sense when you factor in the heavy ad spend we just mentioned. It really feels like the U.S. business is stuck in a holding pattern, just trying to defend its turf.
Defending it, sure, but also actively reallocating it. The quick fix is coupons, but the long-term play is this pivot toward what they call permissible foods.
Permissible? Like, wait, do you mean portion control and diet stuff?
Yeah, protein snacks, smaller bags, things positioned as healthier. That category pulls in about $3 billion now and grows at a double-digit clip. They're structurally weaning themselves off the giant bags of pure carbs.
So they want us to buy less product for the same amount of money and call it a wellness journey?
It's brilliant margin engineering if people accept it. But look, the real safety net here isn't the smaller chips. It's the international footprint. LaGuardia thinks their global business will cross the $40 billion revenue threshold this year.
Wow. Okay, so they're essentially subsidizing a very gritty American grocery war with a massive overseas empire.
Exactly. The U.S. shopper might flinch at the gas station, but international buyers are still opening their wallets to carry the quarter.
All right, so the ultimate takeaway is embrace your tiny wellness chips, thank the European consumer for the corporate profits, and absolutely don't look closely at the tariff accounting.
I couldn't summarize it better myself.
Perfect. We'll be watching how that third quarter ad blitz actually lands on the balance sheet. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one. If you want these breakdowns to just quietly appear whenever numbers drop, hitting follow is the best way to make that happen. And just a transparent note, we actually use AI tools to help write and voice this show, and that's really how we manage to compress hundreds of pages of filings into a short commute. We're always taking feedback and ticker requests, so shoot us a note at earningsunscripted@datamadness.ca or check the show notes for our X link.
Catch you next time.